their views of what what they believe sustainability is about.
I just wanted to add, because
Yeah.
there's someone amongst the audience that I respect very highly, especially
yes.
because of his take
Yes.
on where we're headed if we're
In
not careful.
fact, that's a
And
very
his
good
name is
point.
Papa Motayo,
Woo!
and I'd like him to have a few words on how to inspire us here on what we're going to be talking about
Actually,
today.
I'm going to be walking down to him because he can't,
I put him on the spot. Papa Mabino.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a really important topic. I think, sustainability, or rather what I like to call ecological equity, is a really, really important way in us thinking about how we design for the future. I think one of the main things we need to really think about, and I think it's something that all these three panelists have been doing, is how we design thinking about our local context, the availability of materials locally, existing processes, indigenous knowledge that already exist, aspirational design. We need to move away from is thinking about design, whether that's product design, architectural design, fashion design, comes about through local knowledge as being something backward. I think it's something that is highly aspirational, and I think thinking about sustainability, the environment, and the impact on the design, the impact on design on those things is something that we, as designers, really, really used to think as the forefront of everything that we do going forward. I think what I would really like to ask and the panelists is, and I think it's something that we need to think about because everything is propaganda. How do we as designers really communicate, the aspiration of creating work that considers the environment, considers ecology, but also considers the importance of local knowledge and know-how? How do we translate to people? So when students are coming to my office and I ask them what their favorite building is, they're not telling me Burj Khalifa. Is it Burj Khalifa or which? Some glass, building that obviously is unlikely going to add value to
DJ up to music on the Wizard
the
still
ecology of the
lots
natural world. And more reality is that we just don't even have glass made in Nigeria and all of these things. So it'd be nice to know how you've been able to do that in your practice. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a very good question. That points exactly on
Yeah.
glass.
Yeah, I always like ladies go first, but I have a very short memory, so I'll forget what the question is if I don't speak now. Well, we talk about the future, and for me, I think that the present is the future because whatever we do now is going to have a huge impact on the future. So we're not necessarily looking at this from a standpoint that, what's going to happen in 10 years from now, in as much as we have to imbibe that in our thinking. But I think it is best to sort of tune into the frequency of, the now and doing the right things now. And when Papa asked the question, what are we doing in our practice that is taking on board, the subject matter that we're here to speak on today? First of all, I see it that as what I would call the author of our design, that, we have to understand the importance of every single aspect of what we're doing, have a very clear-cut understanding of every single thing that we're doing and how it impacts every aspect or every facet of our humanity, our society, and, being able to obviously communicate that, because I think there's a lot of ignorance about, what sustainability is. People let you do that, because I think people will listen to you better if you ask that question. But yeah, let's ask the question.
No, you go.
I'm just trying to pick out someone that should know, because he works with us, and he's in the audience. He took time off work today to come and listen to me make a fool of myself. So I'm going to let him speak on. But I mean, I'm very confident that he's actually going to share his knowledge and his understanding of this. So his name is Kayode. Kayode, grab the mic.
Let's encourage Kayode, because Kayode is looking
And let people understand how you think. You know, hopefully we've impacted on you since you've been with us. How you feel and how you respond to something like this.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, Gabby.
So the way I see sustainability is working now to make things easier for people in the future. Meaning that every single thing you're doing now, you're never saying, let me manage it so that the next person will come and fix it.
Yeah.
You're saying to yourself that I'm doing this now so that the next person doesn't even need a headache. He will just say, this was done well, and I'll do mine better. So sustainability also means to me that I'm planning now with the thoughts of what people around that particular place can cope with. Meaning that I don't necessarily need to use glass in a place where we know there's a lot of heat. So we look for other ways to cope, in which we know that even in 10, 20, 30 years, people there can still use the same process I started now. They don't even need to think about what they're going to do, because I thought about it and I did it very well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. for
Well,
that.
thank you. I obviously feel that, you know, he's responded to the question as best as he can. And obviously with the hope and the understanding that whatever happens now can have a huge impact on the future. So therefore, there's a level of responsibility that he has to sort of like, you know, ensure that he shows, and he needs to sort of like have a clearer understanding. I think he's on his way, he's young, and we're here hopefully to sort of like share with you what we think can help this critical thinking that is actually required in how we're going to ensure that our environment is going to be safe for the next generation or the next future, I mean the future of the people that are coming after us.
Okay, so I just want to try and simplify it for our audience. I still feel like I should call on somebody. Is Maymunat here? Maymunat? Where is she? Maymunat. Okay, she's not here. So maybe in one sentence, right, just to help our audience understand, what would you say sustainability is? You know, in like a biteable size, what a biteable understanding, something you can understand, just really simple. What would you say sustainability is? How would we break it down to a 12-year-old, for example? How would you do that?
Okay.
So this
Puts me
question
on the
is for
spot.
you, Mr.
Okay.
Bumi. No.
So, I mean, sustainability is a very broad topic. It's divided into three parts. There's the social part of it, there's the economic part of it, and then there's the environment part of it. I'm just going to touch about which one should I talk about? Let me talk about the environment, for example. So, as a product designer, I try to make sure I connect everything, you know, the process, where I source material, who produces it, and, you know, the packaging and all these things. So sustainability is more like a process, you understand? Sustainability is not necessarily always about material. Sustainability is about the process of your production, your ethics, you know, how you produce, the kind of labor you're using. So sustainability is a very general topic. I also want to touch a bit about when you talked about the future and how we need to do things right now. So there's this school of thought that the present, the past, and the future are all simultaneously working together every time. You understand? So whatever we do now is definitely going to impact our future. So that's why we need to be present. You need to be very mindful of what you do. So sustainability is mindfulness as well. Sustainability is thinking about what I'm doing now, how is it going to impact the people in the future.
Okay.
So just
Thank you
touch that.
so much for that. I'm just going to move over quickly to Bubu. Bubu, could you just give us in one, you know, simple tense or sentence, what sustainability means to you.
To me, sustainability means, like exactly what you said, mindfulness, understanding your processes, understanding the materials that add to that process that you're creating, but also understanding how these processes can translate from past to present into the future, and understanding how all these different worlds or realms are going simultaneously and cohesively, but also trying to create much more innovative ways from the old ways into the new ways for the future ways, and how we create those ways into much more impactful and much more livable forms of understanding, and transforming these ideas into other things that we can leave behind when we're dead, when we're gone. So I think for me, sustainability has to do with essentially the hands. I think your hands are really important in being sustainable.
Inclusive measures. So in order for something not to wither, so you can only achieve sustainability with mindful inclusiveness, thinking about everybody, everything that would benefit from this, so that it doesn't wither away. Your solution doesn't wither away, so you're constantly modifying.
Thank you for that. Let's give it up for her. So I think we all have an idea of what this book is about.
I would just like to add
Yeah.
some type of thinking to this as well. That
Yeah.
one of the biggest things about sustainability, in my humble opinion, is it's this currency called responsibility. And I think the responsibility comes from, for example, we all have a role to play in this. We can't leave this at the doorsteps of others. Everybody has a role to play in this. And what do I mean by this? Say, for example, someone asks you, I'm hoping that most of the people here are creatives. I'm an architect, and if somebody were to ask me to design something that, in my humble opinion, in as much as we're all looking for work and we want to, be creative, but if someone asked me to design something that I know within myself that this would not serve the environment, or this would not serve society, or this would not serve
the people you're designing
the people
for,
that I'm designing for. Well, sometimes the people that I'm designing for might not even care. There's some very irresponsible people out there. They're probably thinking about it from a financial point of view, and
Yeah.
that's all that concerns them.
Yeah.
And
How
they're
do you
trying to
handle
force
that
you.
even?
Beg your pardon?
How do you handle that?
Well, I've been known to do things that, in the end, it is not what they've asked me to do, but when I deliver it to them.
Understanding how to connect these different worlds together, and understanding how to reinnovate the idea of waste into this new idea, because I think waste is not only just waste, it's something that
Yeah.
can be reused and recreated into something that is new again.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. Ade.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to be very brief. The AC is really killing me here. But my journey started out when I was in in the School of Architecture. It was very funny because there were like a number of units that they had. And because I looked at the others and I thought they were too, literary, or my time in School of Architecture going through this ecological unit, it's very interesting this, because it didn't register. I was just doing it because I needed to do what I was doing.
Yeah.
But when I now look back, and it's quite interesting because when we talk about future, we talk about past, and we talk about all these things, the fact that I was in an ecological group then, and I've become an architect that has evolved quite considerably. I've done a complete 360. When I moved back from the UK, I was highly into contemporary, didn't care about what my design, the effect it had on the environment. I just wanted to create something that was just what I felt was, the Holy Grail. What I was
important
searching
to you,
for,
it
what
felt
was important to me,
Yeah.
and I thought to a certain extent to the client. But what's happened now is that, and when Bumi talks about going back into the past because it helps determine the future, I seem to have just gone into my reservoir of the past and all the things that have been important to me.
Yeah.
And then also trying to understand the past in terms of the architecture of the past, the materiality of the past. How can I use that in the present? Obviously, trying to be a little innovative,
Yeah.
where you're not just taking things literally from the past and just applying it, but trying to find new ways of doing things. Most importantly, because I feel that, especially in these parts where our maintenance culture is lacking, we don't really want to look after things. Things happen and they live their natural life. So how do I find a language or a process that can sustain itself or that can maintain itself, that God knows how many years from now, when you look at it, it is still telling its own story. So these are the things that over the years I've actually tried to have a better understanding of. And I've found that by trying to emulate, there's a wonderful person, one of my heroes, whose book is going to be launched on Sunday.
Yeah.
I think it's part of what you have to be one of the panelists here today, is because I've tried to see how I can fuse my understanding of how to, be very conscious of the environment, be conscious of the design, be conscious of every aspect of what it is that I do as an architect, and it's what I would advise every young person here to sort of like start to, get involved with and get to understand. I mean, I hope that there's a little bit of what I have said today that might stimulate your critical thinking in how to actually push this forward. But I just feel that if we don't act responsible enough to look after our future, then there won't be any existence.
There will be no future. None
won't
whatsoever.
exist.
Thank
So
you so much
that's
for that.
my
Thank
little
you,
two
thank
cents.
you. But it's interesting that you talked about how you talked about a mind shift to what's brought you to where you are now. And every time I look at the Abidjan Mosque, I ask myself, what outside of what you said, what were you thinking? I mean, why did you choose to do what you did with the mosque? Do you want to just talk about that for like a minute?
Yeah, very
Yes.
briefly, because
Yeah.
it was not a very easy thing.
Yeah.
So Abidjan Mosque is a project that we worked on in 2020, and it was me trying to express some of the things that I've tried to voice out today. And Abidjan Mosque was more to do with the materiality, and it was about how do I create a piece of architecture. First of all, it's a public building. It's a building that was commissioned by a group of people called the Crescent Bearers. But what I do know is that they wanted a building that they had, we talk about this maintenance culture and all that, but they wanted a building that they didn't have to do so much to after we finished it.
Yeah.
Or that was what I was thinking of as a responsible architect, that,
Yeah.
knowing that this is our culture, knowing the type of people that they were, what can I do that would help this building sustain a lifespan that would require little or no intervention? So
Yeah.
what do? I sourced a natural material, laterite, which I used to clad the building. And in as much as I was doing that, there were so many things that I didn't take into consideration. I mean, laterite as a material has very, very good insulation properties. So I also wanted to create a building that was not mechanically
Ventilated.
well, yeah, mechanically ventilated or
Yeah.
cooled,
Yeah.
no air conditioning. Wanted everything to be natural. So Abidjan Mosque it was actually like an accidental discovery, because I knew I wanted to use a material that dates back to a period in time in my past or my history, but at the same time I discovered new things that has enabled me to start to fuse that into projects that we're working on now or projects that are yet to happen. And then there's also a very important thing that I would like to add to this, in as much as it doesn't have that much relevance to this project. There's only so much that I know. And yes, I can research and I can go and find out more about what I need to know. But I think the art of collaboration, collaborating with people that probably might have a little bit more understanding of what you need to sort of like, add to whatever it is that you're working on, is something that we should all try and push for, or try and find ways to incorporate into anything that we're doing. Let's not work in a silo anymore. Let's see how, if somebody has a better understanding on any kind of knowledge that can add to what will help us have a brighter, better future, let's try and see how we can fuse that into our work.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Thank you. Let's give him a. Thank you so much. So, Bobby, I'm going to ask you this very quickly. In your practice, because that's what it is, do you have architects working with you?
Yes, I do.
You do? Okay, okay. She does. Do you have, are they all architects who work with you? Or you also have craftsmen?
No, yeah, most of them are artisans and craftsmen.
Okay.
Just a few architects.
Okay.
Because my work has to do with the body within space. So a lot of the work I do has to do with not only designing and creating materials for the body, but also how the body reacts to the space and how the space reacts to the body also. Because
Fantastic.
we all exist in spaces all the time.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why we design anyway. We don't design for things. We design for people, you know. So the reason why I ask this is I'm often asked by, you know, maybe architecture students and people who have studied in built environment faculty about what other areas they can branch into, right? I think the reason why I ask is because I think that we need to move away from that whole thinking of, you know, I finished from a school of architecture and I have to work in a design, architect's office or an interior designer's office. The reason it's also very important to me is because I feel like as architects, we need to understand a lot about the human experience. We need to understand a lot about this place that we're in, and the best way to do that is to work in like different places that kind of address what it is that you're trying to do. So here's to all the architects. You've got boo-boo. Go and get some training, get into her mind, and get all the knowledge that she has. We need to pass down this knowledge to our design community. Now, the other question I have for you is, with everything that you're doing, how do you preserve that knowledge? I mean, are you writing books? What are you doing?
So my process is through photography and film and
Okay.
space and fiber, material, fiber, design, and clothing. Because I think the body is the ultimate canvas,
Yeah.
and the body has created everything we see now. This floor, this chair, everything was created by the mind, the body. So I use all these forms of different
By
visual.
and for.
I use all these different forms of visual storytelling to, I think it's the easiest way to preserve the
Yeah.
idea and to also show people what I'm doing, because it's sometimes some people think it's very crazy. You're finding some artisan in the middle of a jungle that has no idea. People care about what he's doing, but I need to show people that this person exists. A lot of times, the reason why I moved back to Nigeria is because everything I was learning abroad was telling me that Africa had nothing, we had nothing. It was really irritating coming from Nigeria to hear people telling me we have nothing. We have everything there. You guys have everything because of us, so how dare you tell us we have nothing? When we gave so just thinking about it as a tree. And you can make something entirely from scratch without even thinking about machine or anything. Because that's how we started. A lot of people forget how we started life. I know watching this show, it's called Naked and Afraid. You push in the middle of a jungle, with nothing, you're naked, and you have to start from scratch. So I think a lot of people forget that we started from nothing. And we have to be mindful in understanding how that nothing became into something. But understanding how we can also create nothing now. Also, even though we have everything, more, how we can now change that into more things. Was made for me and you. So with my practice here, I love to use visuals, and I think visuals are the best way to convey this message. And the
And to
clothing
also
is the
keep-
vehicle of communication for me.
And also to document it for
Exactly.
people to see afterwards. Okay, thank you so much for that. One last question. With the materials, how does secularity play out in your organization? So this hat is lovely, but remember I said I would need a piece. Isn't this hat lovely, guys? Oh, you guys aren't clapping, come on. I want it in yellow though. Yellow, that same shade. You know? So how do you, this hat for example, if I wanted to, I mean, I can have it for what, how many years? 10 years? And I wanted to reuse it. Can I send
More
it
than
back
10.
to you? More than 10? Whoa, I didn't know that. can I use it for?
However long, as long as you preserve it properly,
Yes.
it's going to last long.
And you have all the.
If you leave it jaga jaga, it's going to be trash at the end of the day. So I think it's all about how we preserve things also and take care of things. Like he spoke about maintenance culture. I think that's something where it's not our fault because we're trying to meet up to this global standard. But that's why I said slow processes would allow us to understand who we are and believe in ourselves and understanding there's nothing to rush for.
Yeah.
You don't need a new iPhone. You don't need the new iPhone when it comes out all the time. You can still use your old iPhone.
Yeah.
So I think for me that's the same way in understanding how to start from the scratch. The still technique, I look at how the worms are actually eating the plant.
Yaga, spiritual.
Conscious and comfortable in every process that we're creating, from growing to creating to wearing it also.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bumi, I'm saving the best for last.
Okay.
No, we just need you to talk us through how you have been able to successfully ingrain this whole sustainability thinking in the thing that you do. Apart from what you spoke about, are there any other areas that you have been able to
Yeah, definitely.
deploy that?
So let me just take you back a bit of like how I started my own design journey. So as a young designer, I noticed that in this part of the world we do not necessarily have a design language. I mean, it's there, you know, it's in
We
our.
haven't been able to articulate it,
Yes,
have we?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So if we think about you know, the different movements like the Art Deco movement, the Bauhaus, Rococo, you know, there've been a lot of movements in art and design, and obviously the word Afrocentric has always been something that I've been, you know, very passionate about. But I noticed that Afrocentric was sort of misplaced in the sense like all you think about is lions and tigers and all these funny things. And I wanted to sort of give it a bit of
A bit of now?
yeah, exactly. And I combined it with minimalism. And my fascination with minimalism is from like the Japanese movement in minimalism, Scandinavians as well, and also my culture as a Yoruba man. I noticed that minimalism was something that was really connected to the Yoruba culture. How our language is very simple, but it's very powerful as well. So I combined Afrocentric and minimalism, and I coined Afro-Minima. And I started off by using this as my own style in designing. And I realized that this can actually, you know, evolve into like a movement. So it has been evolving. It's also very powerful, and it's very connected to my culture. So my dad gave me this dictionary, Yoruba dictionary, and anytime I want to create a product or something, I go to the dictionary and I look for the Yoruba name of this idea that I have. So for example, I did a collaborative project with a jewelry designer in Kenya. Her name is Adele Dejac. And we, you know, you're talking about collaborations. Collaborations is very, very important as a creative.
Yeah.
Because it combines different knowledges, different, you know, and so Adele and I told Adele that I was going to design a nice jewelry collection, and I called it Ami. And Ami is the Yoruba word for symbol.
Yes.
You know, so I designed this collection using my ethos and my thinking and all that. And yeah, it was launched in Paris. It did very well. It was won by people like Yemi Alade for her video. You know, so you can't escape culture from our identity. And as an African, that is our power.
Right.
You understand? It's our superpower, if I should say it.
Yeah.
Our identity is our superpower.
Yeah.
The moment you misplace that, then you're just like wobbly.
Yeah.
But if you look at Bubu's work, it's there. It's very unique. It's very dynamic, you know. And for me, minimalism is also a way of showing the Africanness in us. We don't need anything else. Just being African is enough. You understand? We try to hide our Africanness, but no, we need to let it out. And you shouldn't let it out by being wild and being, try to be as, slow living, be conscious, be mindful. So Afro-Minima is that language that I use to, sort of, it's like a guide to me. Yeah. So.
And then that's how you kind of give back. Because I think that with what you're doing, there'll be a lot of conversations around the why you're doing what you're doing, and then there'll be questions, and hopefully, conversations start from there, and then birth innovation. All right, fantastic. Now, we don't want to take too much of your time. I see that we've done close to 40 minutes. So what I'll be doing now is going to the audience to ask if anybody has questions. Do I have questions for any of the panelists? Yes? Okay. Can we get her mic? Is there another mic? No? Okay, thank you.
I would just like to say, whilst the mic is being handed over, I just met Bubu today for the first time, and we need to celebrate our heroes, heroines, or whatever word you want to use. And what I would like for you guys that have taken time out, because obviously you guys could have been doing anything you wanted today, but you're here, is not to just come and listen to us, if you can. I'm not compelling you to do this, but if you can, is to just find out a little more about, the likes of Bubu and Bumi that are sitting here, because what it is that you guys may be doing something, some level of continuity with this moment in the future. So whoever's here and wants to find out more about Bumi or more about Bubu can do so and reach out to them, because you may add some kind of value that you don't even understand exists within you to what they're trying to do. So that's my little fight, whatever.
Thank
to
you
this whilst the mic was being
Thank
delivered.
you so much. And it's very good that you mentioned that, because I always say to everyone that we all have our unique superpowers. Because we can't do everything, there are things that I am able to do that Bubu can't do. There are certainly things that Bubu is doing right now that I can't do. This silkworm thing, something I'm going to sit there. I'm not very patient, you see, when it comes to those sort of things, So, but just to lay on what he said, it's to encourage us to not just sit back and watch other people do things, but to think about what sort of value we can add to what other people are doing. And then if we believe that we want to know more, get some knowledge on certain areas, then we should just, think outside of the box, step out of yourself, and then, go for it. To the young lady who has a question, sorry for keeping you waiting. Yes? Okay. Do you still have the mic? Is he on?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, can you project?
Okay. So my question is about sustainability from an economical standpoint.
Okay. Can't hear you.
My question...
Wait, I'm walking to you. We need to hear what you have to say. Sorry about that.
Hello. Yeah, good afternoon. My question is sustainability from an economical afford sustainable options and things that used to cost like really small. So back in the day, you want to get like something that is woven, you go to one woman weaving it. And I think because these things are becoming extinct and people are bringing it out there and giving it some form of modernity, it becomes expensive. So while I would want to purchase a sustainable option, I can't afford it. So how do we address that issue? Because there's a gap, and to be honest, the people that are from the lower class and the middle class are way higher than the people from the high class. So how do we make it affordable enough for people that know it to be able to afford it, and also spread the knowledge to those that do not, because you're talking to somebody that is looking for food about sustainability. They're not thinking of tomorrow. They're telling you, you want me to buy this for how much? It does not make sense. So how do we address that?
Let's give it up for this young lady. Whoa. Now she's put you guys on the spot. I'm just going to stand back. That's a very good question. Do you want to talk
Yeah,
on
yeah.
that?
I can say one or two things,
Yeah.
and pass it on. So, yes, I totally agree with you in the sense of the economical part of it. So basically, if you're like an artisan, and you are making all these handmade products, and you like to scale up, you understand? It's all about scaling and making it more economical and all that. I think it's all about thinking about people. So you're not, as an artisan, you want to get not just one artisan, you want to get like 50 artisans. So it's all about training, it's all about workshops, it's all about increasing your capacity from just one artisan to 100 artisans. Do you understand? So it's no more, you're not really looking at technology, but you're looking at people now.
Okay, you're talking to manufacturers now.
Yes.
Okay.
And in that way, you can, she's talking about, economy, social economies and things like that. So I think that's just one aspect on how you can, make,
Sustainable.
yeah.
Products more
I don't know what you guys think about that.
From my understanding, I think if you value something, you pay for it, and if you paid a high amount for that thing, you value it more and preserve it more. So invariably, if things are a bit too cheap, you're likely to waste it easily. And I think when things are priced at a certain price level, you're able to preserve that thing more because you've paid a certain amount of money for that thing. If you buy a Hermes bag, you're not going to throw it away. You will never see a Hermes bag in any vintage store or anything because you paid $10,000 for that bag. You are going to preserve, keep that item and pass it on to your children, and your children will pass it on to you. So the idea of prices of items that have taken time to be created being highly priced is the understanding that they won't be wasted easily. Because you get items like Zara or H&M, and these pieces are in every single slum, dustbin, everywhere because people don't value these pieces. They're cheap, they're made badly, they use random people to create them. So I think in understanding the prices of things, you need to also understand where the creator is coming from and understanding how these things are created and putting the value into that. Because if you have 2 or 3 items in your closet that are actually properly made by hand, crafted, obviously would probably be expensive. You're going to cherish those pieces more than the other pieces that were cheap in your wardrobe. And I think from my understanding and perspective, that's how I value things. If I paid a certain amount of money for something, I'm going to value that item way more than anything else in my wardrobe that's a certain amount.
Thank you so much for that. Ade, do you want to add to that?
Well, yeah, I'll add to that from my experiences.
Yeah.
So we talked about the Abidjan Mosque earlier. What I look at, and I think it's also about creative thinking and all that kind of stuff. But what I look at is like, what's the cost benefit long term? Something might be very expensive to start off with, but over a period of time, then you might find that the cost benefit of an initial high price might serve you better, as opposed to going out off the bat with a cheaper outlook.
Yeah.
But I'll give an example of what we experienced with Abidjan Mosque. Laterite is a material that is in abundance in some parts of Lagos, in some parts of Nigeria. So Abidjan is like along the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway. The laterite that we wanted to use, we could have sourced it from Ekpe, which is closer to where our site is. However, the quality of the material, because we actually did go and source it from there, the quality of the material wasn't that good that we now had to go elsewhere. And the elsewhere where we had to go to was getting the material to, we were actually working on a project in University of Lagos at the time. We still are working on it, but we had the material from other parts delivered to Unilag. And then from Unilag, we had to bag it and then transport it from Unilag all the way to Abidjan. What's my point? My point is it did cost much more than we had anticipated, but I knew what the cost benefit would be, because if I do what I had to do and get the laterite that was of the better quality to Abidjan, the long term of this mosque or this public building is that it would have minimal intervention. You won't have to keep changing it. It's a natural material. So I think at the end of the day, to answer your question in, I think, a way that you would appreciate it, is that irrespective of what you can afford to spend, look at what the best opportunities are from what you have to spend, and how does it serve you best. And if you can tick off the boxes that, well, fine, it's not harming the environment, it's not, it's not harming other people around me, it's not, poisonous or whatever. If those things fit into the box of the positives, then the value or the amount of money. I know Bubu talked about if you were to buy something that was a little more expensive, you would actually treat it better. That is very, very true, But I think one works with what one has, but you try and do the best that is going to tick the boxes of how is this going to serve our existence better.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Does that answer your question?
Partially.
She says partially.
No, if you say partially, can you kind of like extend on the answers that we've given that don't necessarily give you, the full answer that you were expecting?
I think I want to add to that. I think what we also forget is the concept of money just is a new idea. This was not what we were doing in Africa. I'm talking about my continent because that's what I know. The idea was trade by barter. So you considering something expensive is just a new idea that you were born into. Salt was traded equally for gold, which you can't even fathom now because we use that for eating, and it's something that we don't value as much. But back in the old age, everyone was using salt to trade for gold, and you can imagine being there to exchange salt for gold because salt was valued at that price of what gold is. Other things were, if I'm exchanging something with Bumina, I can say, can I exchange an outfit for something? That is what is sustainable. The idea of exchange and trade by barter is sustainable. You value this person as much as they value you, your outcome. I think that's what economically is sustainable, but in reality, that's not going to happen anymore because money has taken
over.
Yeah.
For now. So I'm just going to pass the mic to you. Do you want to say something?
So I understand everything you've said, and I kind of agree with most of it, but I think the parts that we haven't addressed is not everyone can whip up $10,000 to buy Hermes bag that can be afforded. So if I can afford something, even let's say it's my 3 months salary or my 3 months worth of earnings, I would value it. But at the end of the day, we're forgetting that in Nigeria, which is where we are right now, you have people that live hand to mouth. And sustainability is a collective effort. And I feel like we can't do it alone. We have to also consider the people from the ground to the top. So looking back, like I was speaking to my mom and I was telling her that, things that I used to buy, how much, 100 naira and everything, people are coming to brand it and put like Afro on it or something as a sustainable fashion or something, and it's like 100K, 25,000. It's a lot. And I understand it from a creator's point of view, from a branding point of view, from a longevity point of view, but the problem still remains. How do we connect to the grassroots? How do we convince these people that it's important for us to save the environment? And how do we make it possible for them to access this?
interesting. I just want to say something. Let's, again, you have something to say, okay, but I just wanted to say, just in response to what the question that you asked, recall that we've been hammering on maintenance and mindfully using what you have, what you can find around you. I hear what you're saying. We haven't reached the point where we can start to, not look at money the way we say it now. But maybe you should shift your thinking into seeing what you have now and then using it well so that it lasts long. First of all, you gave an example. You said something about not being able to afford maybe a print, your die, what do you call it, tie and die, for example. Maybe it used to cost 2K at the time. Now it's like 25K. How about you just use what you have now, right? And then make that just last longer so that you don't have to now go and acquire something new. You could also think about that. The reason why I say that is this whole concept, Bubu did say that we've always been sustainable. But when you look at it, I always ask, I say, okay, I'm just going to ask here. Is there any Igbo person here? Is there a Yoruba person here? Okay, I'm just going to ask them. Where are you from? You're from Cross River. Okay, I need you to tell me what maintenance, how you say maintenance in your language.
I don't know.
It doesn't exist. Please, maintenance in your language.
No.
Okay. Yoruba, maintenance in your language, please, ma.
I don't think it exists. Maybe he told you to take care of something.
Maintenance. Maintenance, no. Yes?
We call it Njikwa in Igbo.
What does that mean?
Maintenance. Njikwa, you have to keep it proper to maintain it. That's it.
Maybe that's why Igbo people don't just acquire things plenty like that. It's possible. But those are the sort of things we have to start to look at. We have to start looking at how we see things. And we have to start addressing how we think through things. That would be a good place to start. And then from there, our appetite starts to grow larger and then we'll figure it out. That's what I think. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything else. No?
No, I mean, Itoju was the word that came to mind
As
in
care.
Yoruba, so yeah.
A maintenance.
Look after something.
Okay.
Maintain it.
Okay. We'll have that. You have a question?
Jackie, sorry, just want to add something
Yes.
very quickly. And I want to use our music as an
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
You understand? And it's all about
Good points.
sustainability. If you look at our music, yeah, it's very connected to our grassroots. Do you understand? It's in fact it's our local dialect. It's the grassroots that is really making our music what it is today. You understand? So you have to connect to culture. Like what I said. And culture there are two levels of culture. Culture can be a combination of intellectual achievements, do you understand, on a high level. And culture can also be from hardship. If you look at our language, our dialects, Jakpa and all these things, it's always from hardship. It's always born from hardship. So there's a positive side of connecting to your grassroots, and then, that can take you to another level. So yeah, I just wanted to just
Thank you.
point
Thank
that
you.
out.
Thank you for that. Any
very
other questions? We can take two more because we have to get ready for the next session. Ooh, wow. Questions? Okay, you promised 30 seconds. And then we'll answer in 1 minute.
Hello. So I think what I have to say is kind of related to what she mentioned. So while she was talking, and you made your statement, I thought about something. So there's this kind of balance that I just can't seem to achieve in my head. So there's the minority that can achieve some of these things, that can get some of these materials or these bags of stuff we're talking about and take care of it because of the price. But if we are looking at the vast majority that can't, sustainability is an idea that is all-inclusive. It's for everyone. And it feels like if we continue at this pace, it's like we'll just leave them behind, which is not beneficial to us. We are trying to achieve something and we are making strides towards it when the majority can't do that. And there's also the thing about the maintenance culture. How do we also ingrain this thing in them? Because as she said, a lot of these people wouldn't just want to hear, they just want to live their lives and move on. So how exactly can we pass these things on to them. And also the price thing is just the major thing.
I want to just
Yeah, like I
yeah.
said before, I think the best idea is to create a free world, free of money, and go back into the exchange process, which is what I truly believe in. And there's this project called the Venus Project, which was started by this professor who's dead now. But in this world, it's the same thing. It's about us going back into our past and exchanging, because the idea of money is not sustainable. The idea of money isn't sustainable, and it's always going to be, nothing good comes easy, and whatever is easy will be cheap. So I think for us, we need to also understand that whatever it is that we want to value, it will definitely never be cheap. It's always going to be at a certain price level, because a lot of people have gone into creating this item. So I don't think anything that's going to last long will be cheap at all. For me, I think anything that you think is going to be cheap will definitely get spoiled, and the amount of money you think you're spending on something that's expensive is what you're going to spend in the long run. So I think that's essentially what my answer is to that. Yeah, I think we should definitely go back to trade by barter system, but that's not going to happen.
That's another conversation. Thank you so much for that. One question, and then we'll take the last one.
Hello, my name is Nicholas. I personally believe that to achieve sustainability, we all have to move back to nature, and Africans should think African in their design approach, all right? And one thing that comes to mind for me is bamboo and earth materials. I've been big on sustainability, big on building with bamboo, building sustainable homes and all that. Now, the big question is, in the architecture schools, you find out that we all talk about Le Corbusier, Frank Lloyd Wright, the big names in the Western world, all right? People do not value, how do you convince clients to use earth and bamboo for their projects? That's the first question. The second question is, how do you force young architects, young designers to look inwards and look towards using these local materials as specification items to create their design concepts? All right, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question, or those questions. They're quite interesting because as an architect, what I found was that this same Abidjan Mosque that we're talking about, when it was done, I was very fortunate that I have a mentor who visited the mosque when it was almost completed. And he said to me that, listen, we need to bring young minds, young students, to come and interrogate this building, question, critique the building. And what's interesting about that is that it started to gather some kind of momentum where people were like, oh my God, so people can use this in this type of way. I mean, for me, as an architect that studied in the UK, obviously all I know, or all I was taught, were like the likes of the Corbusiers and the Mies van der Rohes and all that kind of stuff. But it goes back to one single thing that I mentioned earlier, and I don't know if you were here when I mentioned it, and that is, we all have a responsibility, okay? And as architects, the responsibility is that we have to find a way of communicating, or the line of communication between our craft, our work, and our clients needs to be well articulated and defined. Abidjan Mosque, if I told the client that I want to use this material and all that kind of stuff, they would have looked at me and thought, what are you talking about? We want a building that looks like that other building, okay? But luckily for me, with Abidjan, the responsibility that I had was that, you know what, Mr. Client, this is what this building is that we've agreed. This is how much it's going to cost to build. However, you know what, I'm going to do something in addition, but I'm going to do it at my own expense. So once I was able to own that responsibility and say to the client that I'm going to, you know, I mean, luckily I could afford to do it. But the point is, I managed to get this artistic license that enabled me to start looking at using the material that you were that you kind of like, you know, inquired, why is it not used? And what's interesting is that when the building was put out there, obviously social media has been playing a major role in all that we're doing these days because we don't document very well. But you know, that very fast food type information, social media has been very helpful. So when the building was published on Act Daily, which is an international platform, it now sort of like, you know, cut across, because once something goes on Act Daily, for architects that are here probably know this, then it starts to be picked up by other platforms. So when that building got picked up by other platforms, it now started to send a message to people back home. And that is that if the world is celebrating or accepting this piece of work, then it must mean something. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I think it's about taking that initiative and that responsibility and doing all the things that we can do within our means to start, you know, telling our own truth, our own stories. And that's what happened to me, and that's why I can answer your question, that these things can happen, or you can use these materials, you know, but what's also very critical is that we need to do our own research, understand the importance of these materials, so that we can fit them into whatever type of, you know, it doesn't even need to be architecture alone. I mean, Bubu is into fashion. Bumi is into product design. How do we fuse? And then they've already given ideas and things that determine how they sort of like push this whole agenda forward. But I think it's really down to each and everyone's responsibility to serve the cause, so that we are.
Thank you so
we're going
much
to achieve greatness.
for that. Thank you so much. I have one last question. Oh wow, there's so many questions, guys. You know what's going to happen? We're going to have another session. It will have to be, you know, remotely done. But please hold on to those questions. I'm going to get everything off you, but I can only take one person now, unfortunately, because we have to move to the next session. Okay, the gentleman at that end, please. Yes, do you want to? I worry about. Hold on.
Hello, sir. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So, if I heard you correctly, right, you outrightly said you worked on the Abidjan Mosque, right, and then your mentor, right, he spoke to you to bring students to come critique your work. So I'm putting it out to everybody and to you right now. Could you reach out to schools, or if you have reached out to schools, to bring students to come critique this work? And if you could take the students of Yabatech to come critique this work, I don't know.
So that's a question addressed to me, I take it, or is it that to Bubu or Bumi?
I think you can go first, and then.
Well, no, I was just trying to be funny. No, of course. I mean, the building is there, and you know what I would say, okay, is I keep going on about responsibility. Do you understand? You've asked a question there, and that's because you felt that it was important to ask it, and I appreciate it that you asked the question. But the responsibility is this: students. I mean, I'm very, very happy because I'm on this journey now. My course has now gone through. This is not just really about me anymore. It's about making sure that I have people that are going by my side to the so-called promised land. So if there are any students that are interested in knowing more about this particular building or any other building that others, not just me, have done and would like to critique it or have a better understanding of it, you are very welcome to put an invitation out there, and I would gladly accept it. And even if it isn't like a formal invitation, if you were to say that I'm going to visit this building on this day, would you be available? Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, I would gladly take it, because I know that if more people get to sort of like interact with this building and ask the right questions, they may even help me in this so-called research and development that I am on, because the way I have actually used or utilized this material can be done in so many other innovative ways. I mean, I've only just used one single way to address this matter, but there are so many others, and that's why I was asking the question that, listen, guys, the guys that are here, if you're still interested in finding out more about any of us on this stage, do so, because not that we have all the answers, but you know, we've done something to sort of like stimulate a question, and together in this collaborative effort, we may be able to sort of like find out even answers or questions or whatever that nobody has thought about.
Yeah.
It's this whole collective energy, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's really, really important that we start doing that. But more importantly, sorry about me going on forever, more importantly,
3 more minutes.
okay, more importantly, we need to document, you know what I'm saying, so that we don't have to physically go somewhere. We can actually go through, and I always try and get young people to read more, to study more. I mean, we've all gotten so, I don't want to use the word that Buhari uses, but we've gotten into a sort of like situation where the art of reading has, or even doing research, has reduced somewhat. And maybe I'm actually just, you know, saying that it's not necessarily true. I mean, a lot of people here, I'm sure, are well read. But the point is, we, as the people that are trying to chart this course, must try and document our stuff, our ideas and whatever it is, because ideas don't have to be tangible. They can actually just be things that you're thinking about because you've critically thought about it,
Yeah.
that can help stimulate your imagination to take matters to the next level.
Thank you
So, yeah, feel free to visit
Reach
Abidjan
out to-
Mosque.
yes,
The
yes.
location is on one of my social media platforms. And if it happens that it's on the day that I'm going to go, and I can tell you one thing, actually, next week, Tosin Oshinawa has
A workshop.
a workshop
Yeah.
where they're traveling to a number of buildings. I think it's meant to be on the, oh God, I think it's on the 26th, or, no, sorry, on the 27th or 28th.
Yeah.
27th, right? Okay,
27th.
yeah. So if you want to join in and follow the group to any of these buildings, feel
Yeah.
free.
So
You know,
what-
it's out there now.
Yeah,
So
what I think we can do, maybe we can send the invites to them. I think
yeah,
we have
I mean, we can take
all
the
the
gentleman's details and
Yeah.
probably send
We
it, and
have
he can now
everyone's
share it
details.
amongst his colleagues or whatever. But that's my response to the answer, since it was a direct question to me.
Thank you.
But I'm sure that Bumi and Bubu have a response that applies to what they're doing.
Okay, so because we have to round this up, I'm just going to ask us to, in one sentence, and to just move this conversation forward. What would you say to everyone who's sitting here, knowing where they are now, to move this conversation forward? What words would you like to say to them in one sentence, so we can wrap it up?
I'll say 3 sentences.
Why? We said 2.
I'll say
One.
3.
Okay, 3, that's
And
fine.
I'll start with saying, first of all, you need to find your wonder. Yeah? Then you need to believe in your wonder. And the third one is to protect your wonder. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you so much for that. Thank
Yeah.
you. To Bubu, thank you. Thank you so much for that.
I'm gonna steal your believe concept.
It's okay.
My three sentences too. Believe in your.
Thank you so much for that, Bubu. Ade.
Mine is very simple, and that is that, discover self, discover your truth, and spread your truth. That's all.
Thank you so much. And to wrap that up, my advice to everyone here would be, I imagine that we're all architects and we've gone to study design in some form, is to remember that when you design, you're designing for people and not for things. And then when you design, you always need to step back of yourself or step out of yourself and think about what this will be doing to the environment. So those are the only words I have to say to you. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out to come for our talks. I want us all to give ourselves a round of applause. We said we're going to keep it short, but it was sweet and short, you like me. So if you wouldn't mind, I would like you guys to just indulge us for some, let's just take some pictures for, yes, for posterities. This is sustainability. How else would they know that we did this thing? Guys, please, could you just come around? Especially with the students. Thank you so much. Photographs.